You are 22 years old when the volley of Katyusha rockets rips the night over Stalingrad. Until then, you fix tractors in a collective farm shed near Saratov. Your father, Mikhail, is a blacksmith with iron-gray hair and a cracked leather apron. Your mother, Irina, is a baker who hums old Cossack songs while she kneads dough. Your younger sister, Anya, is 16 and believes every line in the Red Army songbook. Your closest friend, Dmitri, cheats at cards and keeps a pouch of cheap shag tobacco in his shirt pocket. Katya, your love interest, presses a dried cornflower into your palm each time you leave. She works at the village post office and has a habit of tucking stray hair behind her ear when she is nervous. The summer of 1942 feels like a slow fever. The Germans push east across the Don steppe. Wheat fields burn in long black lines. Villages empty in a single day. Your father, Mikhail, says the enemy will run out of steam before they reach the Volga. He is wrong. By August, the Luftwaffe bombs Stalingrad into rubble. You hear the news on a crackling radio in the village Soviet office. The city lies on the river. If it falls, the Volga route to the Caucasus oil fields is severed. You are mobilized on September 10th. You do not say goodbye to Katya with a long speech. She presses the dried cornflower into your palm, tucks her hair behind her ear, and says nothing. You place the flower in your breast pocket, beside a small brass tag your father hammered out. The tag is stamped with your conscription number and a tiny engraved star. Your father tells you to keep it close. He says the metal knows how to find home. The train takes 4 days. You ride in a cattle car with 50 other men. Dmitri is beside you, rolling cigarettes and losing a game of preference to a bald electrician from Tambov. The train halts at a ruined station west of the Volga. The air smells of smoke and river mud. You are marched to a ferry crossing under a gray October sky. German Stukas circle overhead like black flies. The ferry is a flat-bottomed barge loaded with ammunition boxes and 2 anti-tank rifles. You cross the Volga under fire. A bomb falls 30 meters off the starboard side. The splash drenches everyone. The water is cold and brown. You grip the brass tag under your tunic. You think of Katya, Anya, the bakehouse, the smell of black bread. You do not speak. The barge grinds against the eastern bank. You step onto the soil of Stalingrad on the morning of October 15th, 1942. The city is a graveyard of buildings. The Germans hold the western half. The Red Army holds the factories and the riverbank. Your unit is assigned to the Red October Steelworks. The workshop floors are covered in broken glass and scrap steel. You sleep in a furnace room that still holds a thread of heat from before the war. Your sergeant is a man named Morozov, 45 years old, with a gray stubble and a missing left ear. He carries a captured German P-38 pistol and a tin cup he never washes. Morozov looks at the new men and says one rule. He says the earth tells you where to go. He means you must press your face to the ground and listen for the rumble of enemy tanks. You must crawl through rubble like a mole. You must never stand upright in daylight. He says the sky belongs to the Luftwaffe. The ground belongs to you. You learn that lesson on your first patrol. You and Dmitri crawl through a collapsed pipe system beneath the factory. The pipes are clogged with ash and bone fragments. You reach a cellar window that looks onto a street of wrecked trams. 3 German machine gun nests cover the intersection. Morozov signals with 2 fingers. You wait. The winter wind blows through the broken windows. You press your cheek against the cold brick. the earth tells you nothing, only the vibration of your own heartbeat. Dmitri whispers that he would trade his cigarette ration for a single hot meal. You almost laugh. The laugh stays buried in your throat because a German sniper fires at a shadow moving behind a tram. The bullet pings off the iron frame. The sniper is 100 meters away in a department store. You see a single glint from his scope. Morozov points at you. He taps his own ear. He wants you to listen for the echo. You listen. You hear nothing but the wind and the distant rumble of artillery from the north. The artillery is heavier than yesterday. You do not know it yet, but that rumble is the beginning of something larger than any street fight. The rumble from the north grows louder over the next 3 days. You learn its name on the 19th of November, 1942. Operation Uranus has begun. Soviet armies have struck the Romanian flanks north and south of Stalingrad. The Germans are encircled. Morozov tells the squad in the furnace room that the earth is speaking a different language now. He says the tremors are our tanks, not theirs. He rubs his tin cup with his thumb and repeats the rule. The earth tells you where to go. This time, he means forward. Your unit advances into the western districts. You move from basement to basement, from tram to tram. The streets are littered with frozen bodies and abandoned German helmets. Dmitri picks up a pair of leather gloves from a dead Romanian soldier. He pulls them on and says they are warmer than his own. You keep the brass tag against your chest. You also touch the dried cornflower in your breast pocket. The petals are brittle, but they still hold a faint blue color. You think of Katya at the post office. You wonder if she knows you are still alive. No letters reach Stalingrad in November. The postal system is a memory. You fight inside a grain elevator that has been shelled into a skeleton of concrete. The Germans hold the top floors. Your squad climbs the stairs in single file. The dark is absolute. You feel the walls with your fingertips. The concrete is cold and rough. Morozov leads with his captured pistol. He stops at a landing and holds up a fist. He listens. You listen with him. You hear German boots scraping above. 3 pairs. Morozov nods at you and Dmitri. You move to the right side of the staircase. Dmitri goes left. Morozov counts down with his fingers. 3, 2, 1. You fire around the corner. The noise is brutal in the enclosed space. 2 Germans fall. The third throws down his rifle and raises his hands. He is young, no older than Anya. He has a photograph in his tunic pocket, a woman and a small boy. Morozov takes the photograph, looks at it, and places it back. He signals for the prisoner to go down the stairs. The German does not look back. That is the first prisoner you take. You do not remember his face, only the photograph of a woman you will never meet. The turn comes slowly, not as a single battle, but as a grinding shift. The Germans are trapped, but they do not surrender. They dig into the basements and the factory ruins. The winter tightens in December. Temperatures drop to -25 Celsius. You wrap rags around your boots. You cut strips from a dead German overcoat to wrap your hands. The cornflower stays safe in your pocket. You check it each morning. The brass tag is cold against your skin. You recall your father Mikhail at the forge. He said metal holds memory. He said the star he stamped would guide you back. You have no way to test that belief. You only hold it like a stone in your pocket. Morozov leads a night raid on a German supply depot. The depot is a basement beneath a shattered hospital. You crawl through a drainage ditch filled with ice and refuse. The ditch leads to a grated window. Dmitri pries the grate open with a crowbar. You drop inside. German crates are stacked to the ceiling. They hold bread, tinned meat, and medicine. Morozov whispers that you must take only what you can carry and destroy the rest. You fill your satchel with bread. You also find a small tin of coffee. You put it in your pocket next to the cornflower. The coffee is a luxury. You think of giving it to Dmitri. He would smoke it if he could. As you leave the depot, a German sentry fires a flare. The white light turns the snow into a frozen lake of brightness. You run. Bullets hit the wall beside you. Dmitri stumbles and falls. You grab his collar and pull him to his feet. The two of you run through a gap in a collapsed wall. You slide into a shell crater and lie still. The flare burns out. The dark returns. Dmitri is breathing hard. He whispers that you saved his life. You say nothing. You touch the brass tag. The earth tells you to stay down. That is the second time the rule holds. You are alive, but the cost of that life is a debt you cannot name. January of 1943 brings a new sound to Stalingrad. It is the sound of surrender. The German 6th Army is surrounded and starving. You see them emerge from cellars with white rags tied to rifle barrels. They walk slowly, arms raised, faces hollow and gray. You do not cheer. You stand in a ruined square beside a frozen fountain. Dmitri leans against a wall and lights a cigarette with shaking hands. The smoke rises in a thin column against a pale winter sky. Morozov walks among the prisoners, looking at their boots and their coats. He does not take anything. He simply counts them. He says the earth has given them back to us. He does not say it with triumph. He says it with the flat tone of a man who has seen too many winters. Your unit is ordered to hold a perimeter west of the city. The fighting is over, but the work continues. You collect abandoned weapons and stack them in a courtyard. You bury the dead in mass graves that the frozen ground resists. You use picks and shovels to break the soil. The dead are German, Romanian, Italian, and Russian. You cannot tell the difference when they are wrapped in the same gray frost. Anya's songbook had a line about the enemy falling like leaves. You think of that line and realize the leaves are all the same color on the ground. In February, a truck arrives with mail. It is the first postal delivery since October. Dmitri receives a letter from his mother. He reads it 3 times and does not speak. You wait for a letter. There is none. You touch the brass tag and the cornflower. The cornflower has lost most of its petals. Only the core remains, a small brown button of dried plant. You wonder if Katya is still at the post office. You wonder if Anya still believes in the songbook. You wonder if the bakery still smells of black bread. The questions have no answers. Your father's brass tag remains your only anchor. One night, in a basement used as a barracks, you take it off and hold it under a candle. The tiny star catches the light. You remember Mikhail's hands, the way he hammered metal on the anvil. He said the metal knows how to find home. You put the tag back on. The cold chain settles against your chest. You decide that home is not a place. Home is the memory of the forge, the hum of your mother's voice, the press of Katya's cornflower. That decision is your turn. It is not a military victory. It is the moment you stop waiting for a letter and start carrying your own answer. Morozov is wounded in the first week of March. A stray artillery shell from a distant German holdout explodes near a fuel dump. Morozov takes a piece of shrapnel in his left shoulder. He is bleeding, but he does not cry out. He sits on an ammunition crate and tells you to fetch the medic. You run. The medic is a woman named Zoya, young and tired. She binds Morozov's shoulder with a clean bandage. Morozov looks at you and says the rule one more time. He says the earth tells you where to go. Then he adds a quiet addition. He says the earth also tells you when to stay. He means you are not to follow him to the field hospital. You are to stay with the unit and carry the work forward. You nod. He is evacuated that night. You never see him again. His tin cup is left on a crate. Dmitri takes it and keeps it in his pack. March turns to April. The snow melts into mud. Stalingrad is a skeleton of brick and steel. The Red Army pushes west toward the Dnieper. Your unit is reorganized and moved to a training camp near Saratov. You are closer to home than you have been in 6 months. You are given a 3-day leave. Dmitri goes with you. The train takes you through the same cattle car, the same burnt landscape. But now the fields are showing the first green shoots of spring. The war is still on, but the front is far to the west. You arrive at your village on a cool April evening. The bakery still stands. The chimney smokes. You walk to the door. Your mother, Irina, opens it. She does not recognize you for a second. Then she cries and pulls you inside. Your father, Mikhail, is at the forge. He hears the noise and comes out with his hammer still in his hand. He looks at you, then at the brass tag on your chest. He puts down the hammer and hugs you. Anya runs in from the yard. She is 17 now. She does not sing, she just laughs. You ask about Katya. Your mother's face changes. She says Katya still works at the post office. She has not received a letter from you since September. She brings bread to the forge every Wednesday. She always asks for news. Your father adds that she still tucks her hair behind her ear when she asks. You walk to the post office before dusk. Katya is behind the counter, sorting envelopes. She looks up. She does not recognize you until you touch the brass tag. You take out the dried cornflower. The core is all that remains. She sees it. She puts her hand to her mouth. She comes around the counter. She presses a new cornflower into your palm, fresh from the spring fields beyond the village. She tucks her hair behind her ear. She says nothing. The two of you stand in the quiet of the post office, and the war is far away. But the war is not over. Your leave ends in 3 days. You will go west again. Dmitri will come with you. The brass tag will stay on your chest. The new cornflower will travel in your pocket. Your father's rule echoes as you walk home. The metal knows how to find home. Home is the forge. Home is the fresh cornflower. Home is the question you carry through every ruined city. The question is still open 40 months later when the war ends in Berlin. The question is still open when you return to the village for the last time. The question is still open when you place the brass tag beside the dried cornflower core in a small wooden box. The box sits on your shelf for 40 years.